for me, it was that one time, without going into it, a fellow was going to jump into the river, and I literally had to rugby tackle him off it and lift him off it and put him down. But it was his story afterwards. He if there was anything more sad, it's to see a person broken. That stays with me for a while.
We are here at Limerick Suicide Watch, an organisation set up for suicide prevention in Limerick City.
My name is Joan and I'm Welfare Coordinator with Limerick Suicide Watch.
My name is Shirley Johnston and I am Secretary with Limerick Suicide Watch.
Hi, my name is Ciaran and I'm a volunteer for Limerick Suicide Watch.
And I am Elaine and I'm a volunteer and PRO for Limerick Suicide Watch. Limerick Suicide Watch was set up in 2016. I suppose the main reason for it was the need for a service like it in Limerick. There is, on a continuous basis, there's a very high rate of suicide. Limerick has consistently had one of the highest rates in the country, and there was definitely a need for a foot patrol of the bridges and river.
Limerick Suicide Watch has shown an increase in the number of volunteers each year since it has been established.
I suppose over the years, since 2016, we have grown. At the time, we were about 28 members, but now we've grown to 65 to 70 members. And then we would have members with different skill sets. They're from different areas of work, and so they're bringing something to the group as a whole, which in turn aids suicide prevention.
So a general night from, I suppose, what our routine is outside of interventions, we would group here as we are tonight. Anywhere between 4 and 8 members will meet up for patrol. We patrol 4 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. So we'd meet between around 45 minutes before we go out onto the river, and we would gear up. So we have all the gear that you see on us now. We have our PFDs, we have our radios, we have throw bags and our wet gear as well.
Hi, this is Ciaran from the Limerick Suicide Watch. We'll just let you know we're on patrol for tonight. Okay, thanks.
We do a foot patrol, a bike patrol, and we also have our van. So we have, I suppose, the vehicle down by the river while we're on patrol, that if we need to get somewhere quicker or go out a little bit further, say to Barrington's Pier or somewhere like that.
I think having the van as well is great because we can give people privacy. We have it kitted out with seats, and we have containers for hot water to make tea or coffee, and we have safety equipment in it with cameras and that, just to make sure everyone's safe. There's an alarm in it. We have it completely
Privacy glass.
we have it completely done up so that if someone is distressed but don't want to be seen speaking to us or are afraid people are watching them, then they can go in and sit down and they've total privacy. Because unfortunately it has happened that, especially if someone's actually either gone into the water or trying to win, that people have been filming it on their video phones, and don't understand the mentality of someone doing that, but it does happen.
Every night's different. Some nights you could have some peaceful nights, and you can have chaotic nights. There was one instance where we had 3 interventions going on at one time, and there were physical ones. Some nights, and you mightn't have anything going on. It could be the time of year as well. It could be students getting their results, a loved one, that time of year, someone that passed, Christmas. Sometimes it might bring up emotions, feelings, something that they might have forgotten, or something that happened and they haven't dealt with it, and they might, for some strange reason, the river just seems to draw people to it.
You pass people, and I suppose we probably sometimes come across as like overly friendly sometimes, because we're trying to get a reaction from everybody we pass, whether it's a good one or a bad one. From their posture, from whether they're on a phone or not, whether they're walking a dog or not, or the time of night, or you know what I mean. It could be lashing rain. You might come across someone in a t-shirt and a pair of leggings, and you look down, you're going, okay, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, she looks young or he looks young. The weather conditions, there's a reason they're not out here for a stroll. You know what I mean? So it's reading people.
Limerick Suicide Watch experience a lot of interventions around Christmas time. The holidays can take its toll on people's mental health.
I suppose Christmas, it does get, it's not a nice word to use, but it does get busier. There tends to be more interventions. Again, I suppose it's because you're coming up to a season where there might be lots of family memories or family occasions that you're no longer a part of. But as well, as Ciaran said, you've, I suppose, events like leaving certificate nights, you've rag weeks, you have even Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, you know what I mean? Anything that has a certain resemblance with the person of a certain memory, a full moon. And something even recently, you know, we were out and actually the night that Ciaran was talking about where we had a few interventions at the same time. That was recent, yeah. And that's only one occasion where, it's not the only occasion where we've had numerous at the same time, but that's the most recent. But we came out, the guards who would be involved with us regularly, we called them for backup, etc. Even they mentioned typical, it's a full moon, you know what I mean? So I do think there is a little bit of, there's something behind it, all right.
Elaine, Ciaran, Joan and Shirley began their nightly patrol on this cold, wet Monday night.
How's it going? It's actually nice, isn't it?
The councillor putting up new lighting in Curragower Park.
Oh, that'd be
Very dark at the moment, not a black spot.
Even the lighting alone makes a big
Hi, how are you?
difference. Good night, how's it going? Even the lighting makes a big difference over in the likes of Arts Key.
Yeah, even with the light hopefully going over there, see the steps.
Oh yeah.
It's okay now because the Christmas lights are above.
Yeah.
But there's going to be even the light going down
Oh,
outside house. Down there.
No harm to have them. Damn birds out. It was blue, it was a different story.
Try and use the thermal cameras to find the way.
Nice. Easier for us because those lights over there above head, then they're normally not there. I think around there for Christmas, and but they make such a big difference, brighten up the whole area, especially over like some Artsky Park. It's very hard to see people over there, you know, and someone on their own hanging over the railing.
As the recording crew have not completed the required training, they were told to stay back if any intervention occurred.
Pardon?
Is he a Navy guy? Behind the Navy? Do you meet someone who's on his own?
Further down.
Yeah, Navy. Like that.
We're just going to go back down here just to
Check on
somebody.
Yeah.
Isn't that feeling better anymore? I think that's where there was 3 minutes on this.
And if we get close, and I'll just give you a quick signal, I might say to back off. As you can see the mic, you might have to talk to us then, right? Yeah.
Once we're happy that everything is clear and that there's no reason to stay around, we come back to the base, we regroup. If there is an intervention, we'd have a debrief. So, which is really, really important because at the end of the day, the members' safety and well-being is paramount. You know what I mean? Without that, we wouldn't be able to run what we're running as successfully as we are.
Statistics show that there is no specific age that suicidal thoughts can take place.
I think, am I right in saying the youngest we ever come across was 13 years of
I
age?
think around that.
And the oldest was late 70s?
Yeah. And I think the feeling, there's a lot of people think that it's more male than female. But I think definitely in recent times we have come across more female, I think, than male. And it's, as you say, every age.
It is. If it's not, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, your age, your class, background, you know, It doesn't matter what part of the city the person's coming from. We get people who aren't even from Limerick who will come to Limerick for the very reason. Similar to, I suppose, the likes of people going to County Clare, the Cliffs of Moher. They're not necessarily all from the area.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's our river tends to attract that, which is what we're trying to, I suppose, try and change, especially with, I suppose, kind of the regeneration and everything like that, to try and make the river something a more peaceful and aesthetic thing, as opposed to something that people associate with suicide in Limerick.
I suppose the reason we cover the areas we cover are because I suppose they're known black spots. So specific, we would stop automatically in certain areas and check certain areas where there'd be more frequent incidences over the years.
Tide gets particularly high, so high tide today, well, low tide is 12:30 tonight, so the tide's going out at the moment.
Shannon River has one of the strongest currents in the country. The river meets the sea here in Limerick City, which is a known black spot for suicide.
And we're, have hung up our PFDs, that it's there for the next lot of people, because unfortunately, I think we're going to be, a group like ours are going to be around for quite a while yet. I don't think there's any sign of it not being needed. The mental health services, they don't have the capacity or the funds to look after the mental health the way it's needed. So, and people do tend to look at suicide as a solution to their problems, which unfortunately is so sad. I wish it wasn't the case. I think we're going to be around for a long time, so it'd be great if the next lot that come along don't have to be worrying about trying to get somewhere to stay, and that would be our contribution then, all of us that are here now.
Community is a huge, we're not government funded, you know what I mean, and we're all volunteers. Everything that is here is either donated, that the piece itself is donated, or the funds for it has been donated. We've been extremely, extremely lucky to get what we already have. The support we get from Limerick it's unbelievable. Our job isn't to jump in to save somebody, you know what I mean? Our job is to intervene, to prevent them going in. If they do go in, we call the services. If somebody goes in, we then have two people who need the services, you know what I mean? And ultimately, if somebody goes in and you go in after them, very high chance they'll try and pull you down to save themselves, because in the heat of the moment, you know what I mean, they'll panic, so I suppose that's what Ciaran was saying. Our training, we're trained to mind each other, to safeguard each other, you know what I mean. If we're by the river and there's somebody there, yes, we will try and stand in a position to guard them from the river, but not until we can do so safely. We might go to the riverside of the railings, but not until we're hooked on, to make sure that we're safe first. And if they do go into the water, it's the services.
I suppose for me, one of the things that will stay with me are the friendships I've made, and that feeling of everyone having each other's back and knowing that you can rely on someone totally. It actually feels great. That's brilliant. In regards to interventions and stuff, there's been some that their stories are quite sad, and sometimes, like, we've had physical interventions where we're literally, someone's gone over the edge and you're grabbing them by the belt off Sarsfield Bridge and pulling them back, and they're very tough. But sometimes it's actually listening to what they have to say that stays with you longer than the ones where you're maybe kind of trying to hold someone down until the service is coming out. So it varies, I suppose. But yeah, there's lots of things that stay with you. But the positives and the things where people come back and thank you, or their families get in touch and thank you and say, my son, daughter, brother, father, whatever, is here because of ye. Or we had a message, I think was it last year or earlier this year, where somebody, I think it was actually last year, was getting married, and they said when they were doing their speech that they were here because of Limerick Suicide Watch, because at one stage they had been in that really bad place, and they had been spoken to and help organise, arranged for them to know what to do to get help. And those stories absolutely stay with you. They're the things that keep us going, doing what we're doing.
I suppose for me, I think it's hard not knowing what's happened to the person after you've spent maybe 30 or 40 minutes talking to them on the side of the river, and you've got them safe for the night. I mean, we're safe for now. That's what we're about. We're kind of first aid to suicide prevention. but you don't always know what happens to them afterwards. And often you think of people and it might just pop into your head all of a sudden, say, I wonder what happened to that chap, or you wonder what happened to that girl. You got them home safe then, but where are they now? How are they faring? And sometimes you do hear stories, or you do, like, there was one night we were on Sarsfield Bridge and a girl came up and she just gave me a big hug. Now, it mightn't have necessarily been me she was hugging, if you know what I mean, but it's just because it represented that Limerick suicide. Could have been any one of us. And she said that she had been rescued from the bridge 2 years before, and that she had been very upset that night. And she was got home safe, but she had said she said that everything had turned around for her now, and that she was much happier, and her relationship, she was still in the same relationship she was in at the time, it just certain elements that had gone a bit shaky for her, but she's in a much better place. It was good to hear that. Yeah.
As you do it, and as you kind of be there in time, it is rewarding that you might have stopped them doing something they regret. Yeah, like these baby things that kind of stick with you. On the positive sides though, I consider LSW my second family. It's not something I easily say, but I do. And Joan said it there best. Like we're trained so well and continuously well, to the point that I don't question ourselves unknown. It doesn't matter, tall or short, doesn't matter. If they had me hooked up, I don't even question it, and I can focus on it, or they can focus on the matter at hand. And because you have to focus on that person when they've made that decision to end their own life, and you're trying to intervene. And if anything happens where they might try and pull you in, they're hooked up, they know how to harness you in the whole lot. If they do, I wouldn't be worried, because I know they know exactly what to do.
There's lots of very, very sad, and you know what I mean, there has been, I suppose, the worst case scenario where, you know, and we have it, you know, we've attended funerals, unfortunately, where, you know, it might have been someone we had met maybe on numerous occasions or just once or twice, and the family might have asked us to come along, or we might even just stay outside of it and pay our respects. But as Joan was saying, there's definitely the lighter side of it and the rewarding side. You know, we had a young girl who had entered the water, and we managed to get her out of the water, and one of her biggest fears now, having come out of the water, was what her family were going to say. She was going to get in so much trouble, you know, and her two friends had already joined her, as in to come down to help and everything like that. And I suppose what was lovely and beautiful about the end of that night was her father came along, and he couldn't have dealt with it any better. And for us to walk away, watching them walk away hand in hand, and his arm around her, for us, that is the best result. You know what I mean? That she's getting direct help from the one person she was worried would be upset. Obviously, he wouldn't be cross with her, he'd be cross for her maybe. But they're the situations where we walk away and go, that's exactly how we would have liked it to end.
The most important thing about suicide prevention is awareness. Don't be afraid to reach out and talk to somebody. For more information, visit limericksuicidewatch.ie.